Hey, good morning, people. People of the earth. And I'm putting the date as the time. Or I was putting the time as the date. Alright, so today's Friday. We made it. Got off work. I actually didn't have it so bad. I say that. I work at UPS. It is. That means it was terrible. It wasn't abhorrent. It was alright, you know. It was some other people got screwed over a little worse than I did, which is kind of rare. So, you know, it wasn't so bad. And man's going hard on the bagpipes here. Okay. So, not gonna lie, yesterday I felt like as I'm going through this list of attributes and stuff, I was feeling like I started to doubt like whether I was being awake enough, like precise in my determination of whether something needs to be saved versus not saved. I was kind of like rushing a little bit. Not like bad, but I really have to be careful when I do this. So I'm just like reminding myself it only has to be done one time. I'm just eager to be done with the project, but I have to make sure that I do this right. And it's kind of mundane. I'm just going through attribute by attribute, and we're just figuring out, talking through it. Does it need to be saved? We only want to save the things that have to be, but we don't want to not save something that does need to be, because then you are shit out of luck. You're going to have a nasty bug. You're not going to know why this isn't working right, and it's going to be a fucking nightmare to figure it out, probably, if it's some discrete attribute that's derived, like, you know. So it's a complicated program, and there's a lot of working pieces that come together. So, you know, it's better to go slow and get it right the first time. That's just the way it is, okay? That's just the way it is. So, just reminding myself to slow down a little bit. It's okay to take my time and get it right the first time. I will thank myself later when I do that. Let's make sure my audio is working, and that's a little bit much on the bagpipes. Yeah, the audio is working, but that's a lot of bagpipe going on there, and I fucking don't think I copied. Oh, I did. Okay, cool. So there it is. I think I want to turn this down a little bit on my end because bagpipe's a little distracting. Not gonna lie. It's a little bit too heavy on the bagpipe there. Bagpipe is nice, right? But it's a little bit, a lot, you know? It becomes a lot very quickly. So I kind of prefer this a little more. This is a little more chill. Depends what you're doing, right? If you're at a tavern getting shit-faced, you probably want the bagpipes blaring. But if you're trying to focus on writing a fucking compendium of ancient runes, then you probably need to have a little bit more flute and less bagpipe. So, picking up where we left off, we stopped at line 96 in things to do. And I had the urge to go back over some of the objects that we went through already. But we really didn't make it. We only made it through the first two. I just started to doubt myself, and I was like, I realized something that, like, okay, so what was it that I realized? I realized that I started to assume that if something is derivative of something else, then that means we don't need it. And I was like, it was kind of like this little switch. It's like, oh, if it's derivative, then we don't need to save it. But I realized for like one of these, something made me realize that I don't think that's necessarily true. Just because something is derived from something else, I think it was prior face-up discard, and that one turned out to actually not be necessary to save. At least I determined it to be that way. But it made me realize that if it wasn't like a property in like thoroughly derivative, it could have been derivative at a point, but that doesn't mean when we disconnect and reconnect, we're going to be able to just load in a default value that where we lose that derived value. It's not necessarily going to be derived again in the instance of a reconnect. You see what I'm saying? So we can lose data that is necessary. So that is something we have to be careful with. Now, I'm going to go back. I'm going to scan through here. And I think the only one, I'm going to go back to prior face-up discard. That's all. I'm just going to go back a little bit. And it's good to review your work from yesterday anyway. I find that usually towards the very end of your session, you're just kind of burnt out a little bit. You're not as fresh. You might make a couple mistakes. So it's kind of good to go back over what you did yesterday, at least lightly, and you'll be surprised at the things that you catch. You know, maybe you weren't as rested, etc. You know, you'd be surprised at how beneficial a little review from your previous day can do. It can make a big difference in your final result. So let's go ahead and review. Get started here. All this talking. We're gonna look at prior face-up discard, and I want to just go through this and understand how this works. So this is for receive. Let's start at the root. I have a problem with not doing that. I have a problem with just picking a random spot and starting there. It's better to be methodical and organized. Like completely. It can be daunting, right? To always be perfectly like proper. It can become tiresome, but it's worth it, I think. The extra work. So, prior face-up discard, car insurance. That's funny. Change attribute list instance. I saw car insurance because of CAR. I misspelled that. So we have prior face-up discard, and then we have the internal prior face-up discard. So actually, I don't think I should include properties in adders. And do we not even transfer the face-up discard? I might have found some dead code or some... I may have found a discrepancy here with this, because it's listed as one of our transferred attributes, but it's actually not an attribute anymore. It is a property. Prior face-up discard. So when we summon it, it returns the internal with the underscore. But when we set it, all it does is transfer the data in the case that it's not being already changed from dircheck. And it sets that internal value. Now, this already tells me, first of all, I don't think this should be considered an attribute anymore. and it says verified not transferred from client side to server side. Okay. That's good. I like that I add those sorts of notes. Those notes can be so helpful. Very helpful. Too much notes is bad, but no notes is worse. If deck adder is... So we do have a section for receiving this. If deck adder is not equal to prior face-up discard, and then we have elif deck adder is equal to prior face-up discard, set adder master deck prior face-up discard. Okay, I know why we transfer this. It's because it's changed on the server side, but not on the client side. See, I forget little things like this. So, yeah, client side, the prior face-up discard gets changed. The client doesn't know that, right? The client is just sitting there. It has no idea what is happening on the server side. Most changes are made on the server side, and then they're sent to the client in the form of skeleton data, which is usually just integers that represent cards and stuff like that. Now, so if deck adder is equal to prior face-up discard, then we set, and this will call the setter. So this gets transferred. It's really the internal that gets transferred. If you look here, what ends up getting added is the val that's passed to the setter, which is the internal prior face-up discard. So I think it would be more I guess more accurate to say, I mean, we could change this first, and then instead of val, we would just pass in this namespace, but it's the same object. So to be not having duplicate stuff going on here, I would go ahead and say, we'll just go ahead and say that prior face-up discard internal is transferred. So this one belongs here, and there is no other, we're not gonna remove the underscore and have that one as a separate entry. Does this make sense? And verified this does need to be transferred. And verified not race condition prone, verified not circularly sent. See, we did a lot of testing. We did a lot of things with this. Verify. Oh, we forgot verified sent properly. I mean, I'm assuming this is all verified sent properly and stuff. Hopefully we did our due diligence back in the day. I can feel safe pasting that. Well, let's see what it said before. Prior, well, that's not the one. The original, yes, it had all the bells and whistles attached to it, so there we go. Very cool. So still didn't really answer this question though of do we need to save this? Do we need to save the prior face-up discard? Um, I would say I think we should actually. I said that we shouldn't. I saw that I put no, but something told me to go back and look at it. And as I'm looking at it, we receive it from the server side, and it is no longer what it defaultly was. It was default to none. Now, if we get sent a new prior face-up discard from the server, well, we need to save it, because if we don't save it, when we disconnect and just load in the default value, it's going to be set to none, and that's not the right value. So I think what I was doing, the mistake I made, was just thinking that it was because it was a property and it was derivative or something, that I didn't need. Oh, you know what okay, I remember why we said we don't need it. Because it's not used. That's why. Yeah, it's only used on the server side. So it's basically just useless on the client side. Okay. So the answer actually is no. Just because we don't need it. Like, technically, if we needed it, it would be wrong if we loaded it in, because we're not saving it. But, well, this raises a question then. If it's not even used on the client side, we don't need to send it, right? Yeah. We don't need to send it at all. Let's just triple check here. Let's go through client, okay? So this is the section that handles receiving it. And we just said, I don't know if we need this. Now, does it appear anywhere else? Well, it appears in deck, obviously, in the property itself, in the setter. It appears, it is set inside of progression, which is server side. It is, well, it is checked. It is also set. It is set again. It is set again. It is set again. It is used. It is used. And it is used again and again. But this is all has nothing to do with the client side. Old features, all this is, it's not current code. We don't actually use it in the project, and these are just text files. So yeah, we don't even need to transfer it. So the answer actually is still no, which is good, that we determine that. But what we do need to do is we're going to go ahead and do this real quick. We're going to remove code that is associated with sending or receiving it, because we verified that it does not need to be transferred. So let me first add as a note here, say this is not transferred. So we change this. So this is not transferred, internal use, and we're just going to say verified doesn't need to be transferred. So there you go. We know that it doesn't need to be transferred. So this will be moved. This is actually a card instance. and this would go down here in P. See, you gotta be careful before you move anything around. Verified does not, or we say doesn't, like the rest of them, doesn't need to be transferred. Not transferred. Verified doesn't need to be transferred. Not used on CS at all. Just in case I'm wondering in the future. That note will hopefully make me remember. That's fine to do it like that. Alright, so we're gonna finish modifying this code. In client. So if deck adder is not equal to prior face-up discard. So if the if and else only relies on this, well, first of all, we don't need this anymore. So that's gone. And then this also means we don't need the if. So if the deck adder is not equal to prior face-up discard, so if that was the only identifier condition, was that it was not or it was prior face-up discard, well, now it will never be that. So we can just go ahead and remove this, and then we can just do it like this. So now if adder name string is equal to skeleton deck, deck adder equals receive data at -1, adder ref dig equals deck master deck discard pile, op string equals receive data at 0, if op string in AP card ID is equal to receive data at 1, card equals game card certificate card, if op string is equal to A, adder ref dig at deck adder append card change from dirt check if op string is equal to P, card group adder ref dig at deck adder, card group pop, card group index of card change from dirt check is equal to true if op string is equal to C, adder ref dig at deck adder clear change from dirt check is equal to true. Okay, cool. So that should be good. I don't think there would be anything wrong with this code here. Let's just triple check. So the only thing different was we had this if and elif. Deck adder was at that indentation level. Deck adder equals receive data -1. And since we removed the if and elif, everything just gets moved up 1. Yeah. So let's redo those changes. Cool. So that's a lot easier to read. And now we can remove the code here, which handles this. So we can change this to be if type of value is equal to tuple, if change from dirt check to avoid circular append. So we don't want to send it. So we have to make sure we remove the code that sends it in the first place. Well, and this is the code that sends it, right? Because it adds it to the changed attribute list through the data transfer function. And the data transfer function is called through this setter. So if this is not called through the setter, that means we will not have this value inside of the change attribute list. Therefore, it would not be sent in the first place, nor would it be received because it's not being sent anymore. So ultimately, we don't even need a setter at all, because the only thing that this setter does is it handles the data transfer or lack thereof in the case that it was being received already. So what we can do is just completely remove this setter altogether, like so. And then what we're going to have is we're going to change this to just be a regular attribute. So this would be changed to self.prior face up discard, and so we have okay, so that's prior face up discard is different. So prior face up discard would just be set like every other attribute now, like a regular attribute, because we're not transferring it, we're not doing anything special with it. We literally just set it and then check it. It's very simple. Cool. So we can just move this up here. And really we'll just copy the rest of this. Paste that in there. Self.prior face up discard is equal to none, and this should be up here in the alphabetical order. So it should be P. Or no, it should be after O. Yeah. So prior face up discard is equal to none, not transferred. Internal use verified doesn't need to be transferred, not used on CS at all. There we go. So there's the removal of some dead code. That always feels nice. Let's just review real quick. So this is going to be changed to just prior without the internal. There is no internal form of this. There's only the one. And this master deck dot prior face up discard. So we set it, we're setting it. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing this. There's literally no issue. We should be completely fine with the changes we just made. And everything is nice and clean. There we go. Alright, so we fixed that. That task is done. So let's go down here to the end and let's just note that we did this. So what did we do exactly? Well, from 10:53 to 11:20, we reviewed prior face up discard and determined that it is not necessary to be saved nor transferred. Therefore, we modified the code associated with it to reflect this fact, i.e. changed it from calculated property to simple adder. Reviewed all code. Looks 100% perfect. Great. Okay, so now this will actually be the continuation of our task. So we're going from 11:21 onward to continue population of this list. So let's go ahead and close out deck. And now what I will do is we're just going to start again at the beginning. We're going to look at card sprite group real quick. And then we're going to look at card group dict. I'm feeling a lot better today, finally. I'm finally starting to feel like normal again from being sick. Still not 100% though, but it's like it's been coming up, you know? So it's nice, like the stuff that's trapped in my lungs and stuff. I've been spitting it up little by little. Okay, so let's see what we got here. This is for change to display layer. Okay. What does this do? If self is in game card sprite group, change layer. And wouldn't they always be in the sprite group? Like, is any card not in the sprite group? That's what I'm wondering here. Is this dead code? Like, if self is in game.card sprite group, maybe there's a reason we have this. There are reasons for these sort of things. You'll be like, oh, that's just dead code. Let me delete that. And then you come to find out, like, oh, it wasn't. Do we actually need this line? Would not all cards be in the group? Or is there a special reason, perhaps early game mechanics, that require this line? Thoroughly review and test before removal. Alright. Let's continue here. Game.card sprite group, change layer. It's called on each card sprite. Okay, so here's the actual sprite group, and this is populated. When do we clear this? Why do we clear this? Oh, it clears the screen. Do we have to do that actually? Clears the screen, retaining the layer dirty sprites that are not being moved as still drawn on the screen, and then erasing the ones that need to be moved and reapplies the background. If this is not run, the background does not display properly. Is that true though? I'm a little bit confused about this line because clearing it from the sprite group, or is clear here a different different than clearing? It takes surface and background used to set background. So it's not actually what we would think of. It's not a clearing of a list. It's a different clear. Okay, so we do need that. Alright, now we have for current card in sprite group, current card dirty. So this is just where we set the cards to dirty. And what else do we do here? We do update, we do draw for current card in sprite group. What else here? And then the setup here adds each card to the sprite group. This is easy. We don't need it. Yeah, we don't need to save this. This is going to be handled in setup. Yeah, so let's go ahead and let me see. So the answer is no to that one. Now we have the card group dict. Let's see about this one. So the card equals card group dict at. So these are accessed in this is used to access cards in dircheck. But the card group dictionary itself is populated through So it's a game attribute. It is a dictionary. It is populated eventually. That's a different object altogether. Here we go. So this is when we populate it. So it's populated in setup. So we don't have to save this data because it's going to be reset. And it's always static, like it remains the same. So this should be fine to not save. Alright, so now we're to the next one. Click card sound file. That's static. Like I already know the answer to any of the ones that have file. They don't need to be saved. They are basically hard coded into the file. So whenever we just initiate it, these files will be initiated. Sounds are really just a path. It's well, not the file, but the sound itself is when we pass the file to Pygame Mixer. So this is defined inside of the class. This doesn't need to be transferred. So all sounds are gonna be, doesn't need to be saved. All sound objects are gonna fall into that category. They don't need to be transferred or saved. Song num. Let's see here. Song num is starts at 1, and this is basically iterated through on the client side in Event Handler. It starts off at 1, and then as the songs end, we go to the next song by changing the integer to increment it by +1. So song num goes to 2, and then to 3, and then to 4, and then to 5 when each song finishes. So if we want the music to pick back up where it left off, then this is something that we would need to load in. Otherwise, it would just default back to 1. So this is one of those things that I was talking about. Well, not really. This is something that we need, though. We need to save it because it has to be picked up where we left off. So begin music loop self song num loops dict at self song num blah blah blah. Takes song num and loops params. Song num is begin music loop, and then this just is past the song num, so that does need to be loaded and saved. Yep, so we're gonna need to save this one. So let's go right here and say yes. Found one. Cool. Okay, song dict. I don't think we're gonna need this one. This is just a dictionary that relates each integer to an associated file. Those files are static. This is something we don't need to save. Okay, loops dictionary. I would say it's right next to it. Same thing. It's just the order that we want the songs to play in. Like I chose the order here, so it starts off at 1, it goes to 3, then to 1, then to 3, then to 1. I don't know why that is exactly. I guess because I didn't like some of the music. I was like, let's just use Let's use only 1 and 3 and 1. So it just goes back from 1 to 3 to 1. It plays 3 twice in a row. I guess maybe. No, it doesn't. It goes 1, 3, 1, 3, 1. So it does go back and forth. So I guess we didn't like 2, 4, and 5 for whatever reason. We changed our mind. We don't use them at all. Oh, no, no, no. You know what that is? This is how many times we play it in a row. So if it's short, if it's long, we only play it once. If it's short, we loop it 3 times. That's why it's called loop sticked. It loops it 3 times. And then the third song we only play once, and then the fourth one we loop it 3 times because it's so short to make it a longer song. I see. Clever. Pretty clever, dude. And we don't need to save that. Alright, now, next one. Moving on to instance adders here. We got choose multiple cards. Alright, let's make sure we're nice and awake here. Let's make sure we're getting this right. I feel really tired, not gonna lie. I feel the type of tired that you feel in your eyes, you know? It's not like necessarily I'm sleepy. I'm just not fresh. And the coffee just doesn't really seem to be doing that magic, you know, the magic that you look for. It's not there, unfortunately. Okay, so choose multiple cards. This is a property, so this is not a simple attribute. It is a property. It is something that is transferred. So we have the internal form of choose multiple cards. So whenever the player gets to a section in the game where they are required to choose multiple cards, this is set to true on the server side and then is sent over to the client side. Once the client side receives this information, it changes the boolean to true, and that triggers in the event handler on the client side the ability for the player to click multiple cards. Now, I think in this case, I think we would need this. Yeah, I want to say we need this to be saved, because let's say we get this changed from false to true, and the default is obviously probably going to be false. Otherwise, it would always enable you to click multiple cards. So if it's default to false, it gets changed to true. In the middle of picking out your multiple cards, this is going to go through many while loops. It's just going to it's going to remain true until the player is done clicking all of his cards. So let's just say he's not done. The client crashes. Well, when he reconnects, if we don't load in the changed boolean, which was true, it would be set to false, and that would be bad. So we do need to save this. Good answer. Alright, so the answer is going to be yes. Alright, now we have the re-entrant lock. This, I don't think we need to save this. This is created upon initialization, whatever you want to call it. quick deviation here into ChatGPT. I wanted to ask, Python is initialization of a class also known as instantiation. I'm pretty sure they're like synonymous. Yes, in Python, initialization and instantiation are related but slightly different concepts. Instantiation is the process of creating a new object from a class. This happens when you call the class, like object equals by class. Initialization is the step that follows instantiation. It involves setting up the new object by calling its init method. So you can instantiate an object without having an initialization. So they are not actually the same. They are related, but not the same. So instantiation is allocating memory and creating the object. Initialization is setting up the object's initial state. Gotcha. Okay. And there was another one that I was asking. Oh yeah. Is a property an adder? It knows what I mean. Yeah, in Python, a property is a kind of attribute. So it's a type of attribute. It's a special attribute. Alright, so I just need to remind myself of that basic Python shit. And choose multiple cards or entrant lock. A lock is created at initialization. We don't need to save that. So locks are going to be no. We don't need to save locks. So these are going to be easy, quick no's. All this is just no. Let's knock them out here. Alright, now we have click card active. Click card active. Let's check it out, see what we got going on here. I would say that this one would need to be saved. From my initial inclination, it says yes, we're gonna need to save this one. So we have click card active. There's the internal form of it. It is a property. Well, I probably need to note that. Yeah. Because we're gonna. Well, it doesn't matter actually. We can refer to it. We don't have to refer to it in its internal state. I'm an idiot. Yeah, we don't have to. Which one was yes? Choose multiple cards. Oh, we already made it that far. Click card active. Sorry, I got a little distracted. Okay, so click card active is the same. It gets set whenever on the server side, whenever the player is going to choose a card. Now they can click cards. If this is set to true, that gets sent from the server side to the client side. The client receives it, changes the bool to true, and then the event handler allows the player to click his cards. So this could be interrupted through a crash, and if you were to restore reconnect without restoring it to the boolean that was sent, it would default to false, and that would not allow you to click your cards, which is bad. So we do need to save this. Good job. Go over to here, and we're going to say yes. Alright. Now enter continue text active. I think this is basically the same thing. Enter continue text active. It's gonna same story here. All these actives are going to need to be saved, just because it's a static method. Enter continue text function. So enter continue text function sets it to true. Yeah, and while the enter continue text active could be set to true, when it gets set, it gets sent over the network, right? Doesn't it? There we go. So Yeah, it sets it to true. Very simple. So if we're in the middle of an enter continue text active situation and we get interrupted, we need to restore it back to whatever it was. Yeah. So this needs to be saved. Easy money. So it's gonna be yes. Alright, game state. Game state. This, I think, will probably need to be saved. So game state, if change attribute list associated is equal to SS with game state setter. Game state self val. So for the getter versus the setter, game state setter, game state lock. I'm clocking out here. I'm getting tired. I gotta wake up, man. Fucking wake up, dude. Need more coffee, that's what it is. Need to do some chin-ups. Oh, I'm gonna stretch. Oh, fuck. Oh, come on. Wake up, baby. Give myself a little slap here. Come on. You can do this. Okay, come on. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. Alright, game state. Game state is... It's a calculated property. It is changed at various points in the game on the server side, and then it is sent over to the client side, correct? Yeah, it's transferred. And yeah. So I'll say yeah. Because the game state, like, I want to say, do we actually need the game state on the client side? Yeah, I would say yes because of this right here. It needs this data for draw window. And this is only run on CS. So actually it's not even needed on the server side. It's only needed on the client side, but it is changed from the server side. It's a complex relationship, server-client relationship. It is a thing. It is hard to understand until you understand it. So this does need to be saved, I think. Pretty certain. Yes. Alright, input text final. This one, I don't know about this one. I'm 50-50 on this one. This one might be a yes, it might be a no. Client back, we don't need to look at that. Input text final, input text final. Alright, then bagpipes, bro. Alright, let's go to the next one. Huh? There we go. Yeah, that's a little better. And bagpipes were going a little heavy, you know what I mean, dude? Alright, so we got input text final. The fuck's going on here, baby? Whoa. How did we get here? Okay. Input text final. What is this? This is dirt check. This is receive. This is send. It's got to be receive. So we do transfer input text final. But I want to say input text final is actually only used once. It's for when you set your name. I remember like realizing that and being like, wow, this really only... The finished input string, which is the returned input. Self. If text input active is true, you type your name, and then when you're done, it sets the input text final equal to the input text. And it says verify don't need lock since only run on client side. So this is only run on the CS. So this is actually only transferred from the client side to the server side. So this is set one time, I think, and it is set in the event handler, which is a subset of the draw window main function. So that is a subset of the main while loop. So I want to say this is something that is not used, and then in one while loop iteration it is set, and then it is added to the change attribute list to be transferred, and then that's it. We don't need it again. We don't need it. It's done. It's gone. Yeah, so this is for entering the name. We have some notes here. I remember I did a revision of this section. True. What is all this shit, man? Why does it scroll to the right? Why doesn't it stay on the fucking left side, bro? Please. Jesus. Why does it do that? Why does it feel the need to scroll to the right as if you don't need to see the left side? The left side's more important than the right side. I hate how it does. See how it does that? Well, it does that for that one. But why doesn't it go back to the left? Go back to the left. You have to clicky. I don't want a clicky. Okay. Input text final lock wire, input text final. So this is server side. It's been transferred. This has nothing to do with client side. Blah blah blah. AKA, we don't. We don't need it. We don't need to save it. We don't need to save it. We don't, baby. Get it out of here. Whoops. I hit the wrong button. The fuck did I do here? I don't know. Did something. Gotta be careful here. Hitting buttons. Alright. So this one's in... No. Alright, multiple choice active, dude. Multiple choice active, dude. Client, multiple choice active. I will say, I think this is going to be a yes, because active usually means we need to save it. That means like the server side changes multiple choice active to true, sends it to the client sets it to true, And now they're making a multiple choice. If it disconnects while they're doing that, when we reconnect, it's going to default back to the false value. So we need to load in a saved value, which reflects the state of the game. Therefore, the answer is yes. We need to save it. Yeah. I like this. I like the flutes. No, it's a harp. It's not a flute. Fucking idiot. Damn. Multiple choice active. That's a yes, baby. Yes. Multiple choice text 1. This, I think, is also a yes, because this is something that is set on the client side, server side, sent to the client side, right? Yeah, this is called server side, this function, which sets the multiple choice text. Then we send that, right? Multiple choice active is a... Yeah, no? Multiple choice text 1. Yeah, this is transferred. So this needs to be saved. For sure. Because if we're in the middle of making a choice from multiple choice text that we were sent, we need those to come back, because otherwise it's going to go back to a default value. So multiple choice text 1, multiple choice text 2, this is going to be a yes. So yes, and also yes. Progression text, that's going to be a yes as well, same thing, right? Definitely. Well, this makes me wonder though, what about progression text 2 and 3? Do we have those on here? We got progression text object. But doesn't... Progression text is a lot, okay? Progression text is a lot. There's a lot going on with progression text. Where are we at here, dude? Find it, okay? Yes, I know. It's a nightmare. It's a clusterfuck. Whatever you want to call it, that's what it is. It's so much. It are so much to keep track of, dude. It's a lot. Let's get to the get to the pernt. Here we go. Progression text. Okay. So whenever we set it, ultimately it gets set to the internal progression text, right? There's a lot of shit that happens here, as you can see. There's a lot. I don't even like to look at it. I'm the one who wrote it, and I don't even want to look at it. Okay? It stresses me out. I don't want to look at it. It gives me anxiety. But what ultimately ends up happening is you do severe calculus on it, and then you have a brain aneurysm, and then you have to read a fucking codex, and you get to the end, and what ends up happening is you go ahead and set but I don't see where it sets the internal value here. See how it goes to this to the right? Stupid thing. Okay, so the first thing it does is sets it to internal. But I'm worried about 2 and 3 because there's progression text object, progression text object 2. So there is no progression text 2 though. There's object and object 2 and object 3. Okay, right. I remember how it works. There's the string progression text, and then we render each object as 3 separate lines. They're rendered. They're 3 independent objects. But they're all derived from the actual progression text. So as long as we just have the progression text itself, all that gets derived. So that answered questions that I had that I needed to know. So this does need to be saved, and now I can really quickly skip down here to everything related to progression. You know what? I'm not going to do that. Wait. See, this is what I was talking about. So, just because the progression text gets set at a particular point in time, which derivatively sets all this other shit, the text object rect, etc., etc., Well, isn't that we're gonna call the setter when we set it, when we reconnect and load it in. So we don't need to save, like, we don't need to save the progression text object. This rendered object here, this render object, we don't need to save this. Because as long as we have the progression text, when we set it, and that's what happens when we load in the data, we call the setter, it's going to do all this work for us. So we can say anything else related to progression text is going to be a big no. Big no. Big no. The rect as well, that's going to get reset. There we go. So that took care of some and we don't need to set the internal because that will be set derivatively through the setter. So this also is no. Holy shit, I'm a genius. Alright. Round end winner sound bool. Moving on. Oh, we're getting close, baby. I'm ready to hear that fucking round end winner sound. Alright? I'm ready to hear that so I can do a play test and see if my game actually works. It's actually time for us to stop. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to actually, put our note here. Let me see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 to 25. Stopped here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we stopped at line 131. Two turnt Tony. What's his name? Two turnt Tony. Two turnt Tony. That name just, it sticks. So that's an hour and 7 plus 5, an hour 12. We'll throw ourselves an extra 3 minutes. We're gonna say we did an hour and 15 minutes. How about that? Round up, baby. Round that shit up. So now we need to, we're at the root of the project directory. Now we can do git branch to ensure that we are on the correct branch, which we are. So we can do git add, and then we can do git commit -m double quote paste double quote to make our commit. We can do git push to the remote repository on the cloud, also known as GitHub. We can close out of this. Now we're gonna go over to our project. My eyes are redder, like pink. Piece of gum just flew out of my mouth. My eyes are pink. That's from being tired. Alright, so let's enter into this. Copy this one. Go into backup. We delete the old one. Now we paste in the new one. Speaking of pasty, I need to tan. And we're checking this to make sure it reflects today's date, which it does. So now we're backing out. And then we're going to change this to reflect today's date, which was the last time we updated it. Alright, so gonna go to the gym. It's heavy bag day. It's Friday. I don't feel like it, dude, but you know. I've been cutting weight. I just went back to work after being out for like a month because of my knee being messed up. And I was literally on bed rest for like 30 days. So I didn't work out or anything. I didn't work or work out for 30 days straight. I gained some weight, naturally, lost some muscle. I was like 159 and a half a couple days after I started going back to work. My weight, and then I like went on a diet to get back in shape, and I'm already down. I haven't checked it in a couple days, but I think I'm down to like 152. That was my goal, so I hit my goal, but I really want to like see if I can actually get down to actual 150. But cutting weight is a little hard. It makes you moody. You are going to lose a little bit of muscle when you do that. But my goal is to be fat-free for the hot boy summer, you know? And I'm getting close, but I'm not there. And a heavy bag day definitely helps me to burn that fat, because I do real intensive workout. I do 3-minute rounds on the heavy bag, and a minute in between, just like a pro boxer does. But I don't do 12 rounds. I only do like 4. And then I do like a little lanyap. I do push-ups first, so that kind of counts as a round, not really. And then I do like speed bag, handspin without the speed bag. So that's like another 2 rounds. But I'll just say it comes out to be about the equivalent of 5 rounds, maybe 6. So it does help me cut weight, so I can't skip it. So I'm gonna go do that. We're gonna come back. We're gonna do more unless I'm completely exhausted, but I don't see that being the case. I don't have anything to do. I gotta cook some chicken. So yeah, I'll see you guys